Hey everybody, we'll go ahead and get started. Tonight we're going to hear from Dr. Susan Nelson and then our advisor, Dr. Pullman, about the orphan kitten foster program that they have. So I'll just go ahead and let them take over and we'll hear from them, okay?
Okay, so I'm just going to talk first very, very briefly. Dr. Nelson is going to talk most of this about the Orphan Kitten program. I'm just going to just intro this with a little bit about Riley County Humane Society since I haven't talked to you guys about that, and just then connect that. So this will be, my little intro is like 2 to 3 minutes. So just for those who aren't aware, I am the president and medical director of the Riley County Humane Society. And Riley County Humane Society is a local all-volunteer organization. Um, and we are most well known for our rescue, foster, and adoption program, which basically we save hundreds of adoptable animals every year from needless euthanasia. We also have some community support programs. I can talk to you about those another time. Um, but the vast majority of pets that enter Riley County Humane Society are from overcrowded shelters when their time is up for a variety of reasons. That could be no one has shown interest, or often medical. RCHS takes a lot of medical cases, both from shelters as well as from veterinary clinics where there's been owner surrender, or maybe the animal was found and the animal needs some medical care. So a small percentage come as directly as owner surrenders. And then the one that we're going to talk about tonight being the Orphan Kitten program, which is a really, I think, valuable and special program, which provides, saves lives, but also provides some really good education for veterinary students, as well as we're inviting you guys, pre-vets and such, to join. Okay. So the role for Riley County Humane Society is basically we approve the fosters. Okay. And so all the people that are, or students, or people that are taking these orphan kittens home have to be approved Riley County Humane Society fosters. So what does that mean, and how can you become an approved foster? Well, first of all, you have to apply online, and if anybody's interested, we can send them the application. But some of the state requirements are dogs and cats have to be spayed and neutered and up to date on vaccines. This is for the safety of our animals that are entering your home, but also for the safety of your animals. If renting, the landlord will be called to get approval, because we don't want to end up putting animals there and then we find out they're not allowed and we have nowhere else to put them. So we always have to make sure we have a place for these animals to go before we accept them into a program. Um, and then we are going to call references, call your veterinarian to make sure that your animals are up to date. And then we do a home check. And this is also required by the state for licensed rescues to do. Um, if others work, if other of you shelter or foster for other organizations, they may not have done that, although it is a state requirement. Um, and so right now, we actually aren't going to the home just because of COVID. So what we're doing instead is we're getting pictures of, where's the animal going to be kept, making sure that your home is, um, clean and such. And people sometimes get a little bit stressed out about this. And when I say clean, we're not assessing your housekeeping skills. Basically, I could show somebody the state requirement. It's, do they have heat? Do they have garbage pickup? Or is it, if any of you have seen, hoarders to the to the other extreme, where are these animals going? Is it a safe and healthy environment for the animals? That's basically what we want to know. Okay. And so since all the RCH animals are in foster homes, this is a really integral part of basically our mission. And so we really value our fosters, and I think it's a really good experience for the fosters, especially with our CHS, because we take so many medical cases. So I'm going to just leave it there. That's kind of a very, very brief rundown on our CHS. And I will turn it over to Dr. Nelson. Did I cover everything, you think, Dr. Nelson?
Yeah, I think so, because it's a partnership between hospital and through Raleigh County Humane Society for many reasons. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the PowerPoint I go through when we're doing training with our fosters. We're not going to go through all of it. I think it might give you a little bit of an idea of what we do. And one thing I can say, oops, except that I can't.
I think that's
So one thing I can say can be very gratifying raising these. It's kind of nice to see something that's so helpless and small, to see them grow up to be big ornery kittens that are fun to play with and everything. So let's see if I still have, not quite yet. Caitlin, I think you might be the one that has to allow me to share a screen.
Yeah, I fixed it. You should be able to now.
Oh, now I can. There we go. All right, so let me go over these. I'm going to move your little faces over to the side here. Okay, so again, as y'all just found out, we're a partnership between Raleigh County Humane Society and the Veterinary Health Center. So why did we even start this to begin with? Because a lot of times we have what are called Good Sam animals being brought in, anywhere from kittens to adults, for various reasons. Kittens are usually someone just finds them. They don't think there's a mother, or maybe mom's around, but they just didn't bother to look for her, but they get brought into us. And so these little ones require a lot of care. And the hospital is quite busy with a lot of emergencies at night, with paying clients who want the attention being put to their animals. And so occasionally these kittens kind of get shoved aside. Not all the time. There's a lot of nurturing people up there, but it's to have some people to come help get these out, get them fed, and start getting them going. So who owns them? So when they come into the veterinary hospital as a Good Sam, basically at that point, they're a hospital patient once we take them over. Technically, and Dr. Pullman can tell you guys more about this later when they talk about the Humane Society, but there's a waiting period for owners to come and claim. It's very rare that we would ever have anyone come claim the orphan kittens. We have on occasion been able to talk someone who brought them in to take them back to see if mom would come, and we've been able to sometimes successfully be able to reunite them with their mothers. But for the ones who can't, or the mother's dead, we're going to take these in. One thing we don't do is really advertise this heavily. We do not have enough fosters to go around for all the kittens. Kitten season's here. You'll find out that all the local foster agencies and things like places like Cattails and even our own animal shelter, especially by June, are just inundated with kittens. And so it's hard to find enough fosters to go around. So, anyway, so for when they first come in, they belong there, literally patients of the hospital. So it's one thing that's important to remember. These aren't just, oh, we're going to go have fun, we're going to raise these. There's actually patients you would be taking care of. Once they hit about 8 weeks of age and 2 pounds of weight, and they're healthy enough, we transfer them over to Raleigh County Humane Society. And so then they become the owners. Why do we do this? It's kind of hospital policy to not adopt out directly from the hospital. And so with Raleigh County Humane Society, we turn them over to them. They get them spayed and neutered, allow them time to heal, and then they're put up for adoption. And let's face it, they have a lot of networking to get these guys posted and get them adopted out. So one rule we do have while they are patients of the hospital is you can take photos that you want of you and the kittens, that's fine. What we don't want is them posted on social media, because again, there is a strict policy with the patients that there's no posting on social media, especially without an owner consent. So one thing to remember is, even though a lot of times these are cute and cuddly, sometimes they, in a week or so, start looking crusty and have some bad skin issues, and you see, oh, they've developed ringworm. So, or they start sneezing or whatever other thing they might develop. So one thing we're going to talk about is we put them into quarantine where they're not going to be around any other animals, period, for at least 2 weeks. That's for the safety of the kitten. It's for the safety of your own pets, cats and dogs. We recently, with one of our Last fosters we had, one of their own dogs caught some ringworm from this kitten because it kept nosing around it. So that's always a chance you take when you bring them in. If they're old enough, and that means around 4 weeks of age, we do testing for diseases called feline leukemia and feline AIDS. Those are retroviruses, so they're viruses that suppress the immune system. Feline leukemia can be passed on from mom. FIV usually takes some bite wounds. There are some policies for Kansas. They lifted the one for FIV, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Pullman, that the Humane Societies can adopt them out. Feline leukemia, though, if they test positive, they're not allowed to adopt those out. So before we transfer them over to the Raleigh County Humane Society and put them in any kind of pickle, we will do some testing and make sure that they don't, at least at that point in time, are negative for that. Normally, they're not really big enough or to where I'm comfortable pulling much blood till they're at least 4 weeks of age. And again, place them in quarantine. And then I do have a policy that they cannot interact with your own pets. So I've talked to you, we've had a big discussion. There's a lot of chance for harm from older pets to cause to the kittens if they're not used to being with kittens, not socialized. So it can be kind of risky to do that. We had one foster who unfortunately had a little breakdown in communication between us and the people who did the home inspection. When the home inspection was done, they felt like her bigger dog was going to be a little too aggressive to have kittens. That didn't get relayed to us in time. And it wasn't anyone's fault. It's just one of those things that happens. And so she took these kittens home one night to feed them, keep them overnight. Within an hour was calling in a panic because her dog was aggressively going at them. So that is one of the reasons for the home inspections, for me to be pretty picky about who's going to interact with these kittens as far as other pets at home. So we tend to not mix litters together until at least there's 2-week quarantine is over. It doesn't look like they're going to give anything to each other. And then also we want them to be fairly close in age. You'd be amazed how much a difference a week makes developmentally to kittens, how much more coordinated. Kittens are a week older than a week younger. 2 weeks definitely starts making it kind of tough to put them together because the bigger ones tend to bully the little ones around a little bit. So these are some of the kittens. So we've got a few pictures of some we've had in the past. So some of this won't apply to you because we have some COVID. Most of this is in-home fostering right now. And again, this is why to do this, we have Raleigh County come and clear y'all so that you can do that. If you do, I have had some landlords where I was able to write a letter to say, this is the situation, here's how big these guys are. They're not going to be peeing all over the carpet. Some people have been allowed to keep like the 1, 2, 3, 4-week-olds. They're in plastic bins. They're not running all over the house or anything. So if you have a landlord, you can kind of discuss the situation, let them know the age of what you're fostering. And sometimes they will give you a pass and allow you to foster some of these kittens. And I'm more than happy to write a letter if that's something that it needs. You guys will not be able to do this right now. You won't be able to come over and help with lunchtime feedings because right now there's some pretty strict policies on who comes in and out of the hospital. Potentially, by fall, who knows, this may lift as more people are vaccinated, things like that. So mostly you would be doing in-home fostering. I will say along with that though, if you're not vaccinated, you're coming down with any kind of symptoms that are consistent with COVID, you're not going to be allowed to take the kittens. You need to let us know that because you may go into quarantine yourself. And the other thing is, if you don't know this, cats can get COVID. So we want to try to, not all of them get sick, but they can get it. So we want to really try to keep away from that situation. I had one of our fosters last fall. She ended up testing negative for COVID, but she was sick. They still put her into quarantine. And so she's not feeling good herself. And she had a litter of 4 kittens that needed to be fed every 4 hours. So that's kind of tough when you're having to do that when you don't feel good and you're going to have them for 14 days. Luckily, her husband was good at feeding and could help her with that. So during the day, they stay in during normal class time. Again, COVID, we changed this during the day right now. They're still home with the fosters. And a lot of times they're switching out every 3 days with a new person. I do request that they're giving me daily emails on how they're doing because I need to know how they're doing. We can't have these guys go downhill. I do have really experienced fosters and I have some that aren't as experienced and may not know if they're feeling ill or not doing well. So again, during normal class times, they stay with us because we feed them during the day. Because when classes are in session, it's hard for the students to get down like at 2 in the afternoon when they're still in classes to come feed kittens. And then they definitely stay home with their fosters at night during the holidays. Again, you won't be able to do much hospital care right now. Most of the time we're sending them home at 5 o'clock or so. We tend to be pretty busy on our service. We don't have time to try to help find things, get things ready for you until the craziness of the days kind of wound down just a little bit. So supplies, we do give all the supplies. We don't have any metal gates for you, but we have a lot of little pop-up kind of tents that can go home. So we have those, we have bottles, we'll have the formula, there's thermometers. We have all the supplies that we're gonna litter that will go home to, so you don't have to buy anything or do anything. So you will feel like you are taking a human infant home because you will go home with a couple of big bags of stuff usually. My fosters who foster for me a lot, they usually just start building up their own supplies so they don't have to drag so much stuff back and forth. There is a daily care sheet, and I think I have an example of that later here, that every day, every feeding needs to be charted so I can see with these sheets, if they've been eating, what their weights are doing. There's also times we'll leave notes on there like, hey, we're starting antibiotics, or you need to stop an antibiotic. So be looking out for notes with those as well. You'll come with a bottle capacity chart. So part of feeding these guys is they don't get to eat just how much they want. Overfeeding can lead to diarrhea, can lead to other problems. So we'll send you with a chart that's come from Maddie's Fund. Maddie's Fund has a lot of good information on orphan kitten care. I'll show you a few more slides later, but this comes with that. And you can kind of see that you're feeding 7 times a day for these really young guys, sometimes more if they're really weak and debilitated. So roughly that's every 3 hours for the first couple of weeks. Gradually, you know, when they hit 3 weeks, you can start going to maybe every 4 hours and stretch out a nighttime feeding. But those first few weeks, you get kind of tired because it's a lot of feeding. Once the kittens learn how to latch onto a bottle, onto that nipple, it usually goes pretty fast. And once you become a more experienced feeder, you can actually feed some kittens pretty quickly and get them done. First few times can be a little bit of a challenge though. Again, we're just kind of talking about make sure you don't have COVID. Still, there's masks. So if you are allowed in the hospital, I'm pretty sure the mask mandate probably won't be lifting for a while anytime soon. So right now, I don't really have a check-in, check-out sheet because we actually have this on a Google Drive. I have 3 vet students who are kind of my kitten coordinators right now. 2 of them are doing it during the school year. Another one will be doing it during the summer. So we have a Google Drive that tells me who has what kittens on what day. So let's see. If you're transferring over the weekend, again, the Google log kind of keeps that. So tracking daily care, it's really, really important to track their daily care. Are they pooping? Are they peeing? Are they gaining weight? A big sign that a kitten's not doing well is failure to gain weight every day. So we're having them weigh a minimum of once a day, usually in the morning before the first meal, maybe twice a day if they're not feeling very well. We're going to have you track how much they ate so I can see if they're eating or not, if they pooped that day, if they urinated that day. All that will be on there. We'll send a gram scale home with you so you can weigh these guys. Some of this. This is what that's going to look like. So by the time we finally adopt them out, we have several pages of these. But you can see if you're doing this, feeding them every 3 hours, you're going to be filling this in a lot. So you'll put in the date, the time, the weight, what they're eating. So we'll usually have marked on here what type of formula they're eating, everything. If they urinated, you'll circle that. If there's feces, if nothing, you'll circle that. Medications, if they need them, that you're giving them then. Any remarks like, oh, they started with diarrhea, and then your initials on those. These are actually part of their permanent medical record. So those need to come back with them because they will go into their charts. So really weak or sick kittens, the more experienced fosters are going to get those first until they get strong enough and healthy enough that, and probably a little bit older, that we feel the inexperienced fosters can maybe start with them. So don't feel bad if you haven't fostered much. If we say, we may get this one to someone else for a while. As they get older, then you can kind of get those and just gain some more experience. Here's the hard part about this. If they have a really poor prognosis for something or something that's going to be really extravagant in cost maybe. Some of these we may end up having to euthanize. Most of them we keep. If they develop ringworm while we have them, we treat them. So we keep them a little longer, but we do treat them. So, but there are some reasons where we may not accept them into the program, or they may have to be euthanized. And then the other thing is, not all kittens survive. We have a pretty good track record, but sometimes things happen. They are weak. There's something else going on. You have nothing that you can control. So occasionally we will lose some as well. And that can be really hard. So it's never been a student's fault. There's always something else going on with that. One reason we're kind of leery about taking any kittens that we know have ringworm that come in right off the bat, and I'm not saying we haven't taken some of them in, is when we culture them, that culture grows for an entire month before they will call it negative. Raleigh County Humane Society, for a lot of good reasons, doesn't want to take in ringworm kittens because no fosters want to have them in their house. It takes a while to adopt. So that means they're in our system longer too. So sometimes we'll take them on, sometimes we won't. It just kind of depends on the case. So one thing is these little guys need to stay warm for the first several weeks of life. They can only maintain a body temperature 12 degrees or so above what the environmental temperature is. So they get cold really fast. And when they get cold, their blood sugar drops. So when they get hypoglycemic like that, they start seizuring and they die. So it's important to provide external heat. We have some warming discs that we send home with you that you can pop in the microwave. Socks filled with rice. So the rice bags that you pop in the microwave can work really well as well. We send you with some corn syrup as well. For some reason we would forget, you can use honey. But the first thing you do if you find a kitten who's weak and not responsive is you're going to rub some corn syrup onto their mouth and you're going to start warming them up. One thing you don't want to do is feed cold kittens, because when they're cold, they don't digest their food, at least the gut stasis. When that happens, we start getting bacterial overgrowth, they get septic, and again, they want to die. So they can be tough little boogers, but they can be really fragile in some ways too. So a big thing is keeping them warm, making sure they're getting nourishment, and then they're not getting low blood sugar. Let's see. So, whoops, went up too far. So I'm not going to go through these videos, but Maddie's Fun has some great ones. So you would want to get on there and get to their videos because they're good. This first one talks about how to, unless you have time to do this, do y'all want to watch these? They're all about anywhere from 1 to 4 minutes long. There's about 5 of them. I might have to have you turn on your, just to let me know. Otherwise, we'll just go through the slides.
I think they may be nice to watch.
Okay. All right. So the first one's how to do kind of a basic exam on a kitten. I'll click on that in a moment. So again, they should gain weight every day. Basic respirations, they're fairly close to what adults are. Their heart rates are really fast when they're little. And one thing to note is a normal adult temperature is around 101.5, 102.5. When they're only in that first week of life, they only range 95 to 99. So they're actually not hypothermic. So if they're a week old and they have 101 temperature, they're actually running a fever, or we might be overheating them. So let's click on to this one real quick. Let me know if this isn't showing for you on your screen, okay?
It's showing.
Okay, great.
Caring for orphan kittens is exciting and rewarding work. When you're first presented with an orphan kitten, it is a good idea to do an exam to gather baseline information on that kitten. Record your findings and have a written record for each individual kitten. The steps involved in examining an orphan kitten should include: Step 1, estimating the kitten's age. You can use weight, teeth, and other significant events such as eye opening to help. You can use the chart developed by the University of Florida, as well as other resources located on Maddie's Institute's website. Keeping kittens less than 2 weeks of age warm is important during the examination, as they cannot thermoregulate normally yet. Step 2, checking the kitten's attitude. Is the kitten bright, alert, and responsive to you? If the kitten is quiet or dull, check its temperature. Make sure he isn't chilled. Kittens under the age of 2 weeks cannot regulate their own body temperature and will need an outside heat source to stay warm. At first, chilling may cause the kitten to cry a lot, but this will progress to being quiet and dull. Next, check the kitten's body condition, muscle tone, and coat condition. The kitten should be plump and round with good body symmetry. The muscle tone should be strong, and the coat should be shiny and free of debris. Check the umbilical area for any pain, redness, or swelling. Step 4, always make sure to weigh your kitten during the initial exam and frequently thereafter. Weight is a good indicator of how healthy your kitten is. Underweight kittens will need extra attention and do not tend to thrive without extra care. Kittens under 2 weeks of age should be weighed twice a day. Kittens 2 to 4 weeks of age should be weighed daily, ideally at the same time each day. The next step involves getting a rectal temperature on your kitten. This is an important but tricky step, and care should be given not to harm the kitten. Make sure to use a quick reading thermometer and lots of lube. Don't insert more than the tip of the thermometer. If the kitten is really fighting this, then don't force it. Next, if you have a stethoscope, you can check the kitten's heart rate and respiratory rate. The heart rate of kittens should be in the range of 220 to 260 beats per minute. Heart rates will slow down when a kitten is chilled. The normal respiratory rate of kittens at birth is about 10 to 18 breaths per minute. After 1 week of age, the rate increases to 16 to 32 breaths per minute. Respiration should be regular and not take a lot of effort, and the nasal airway should be clear of mucus or discharge. As you're looking over your kitten, check a few reflexes. Kittens between 0 to 14 days should have a rooting reflex to look for the nipple and a suckle reflex. You may also see a righting reflex. Step 8 involves looking in the kitten's mouth. Check for any abnormalities to the palate. A cleft palate is a birth defect which will make it very difficult for the kitten to consume milk. Check the kitten's mucous membranes to make sure they're pink, moist, and slippery. Dry, tacky, or dark pink mucous membranes may mean the kitten is dehydrated or sick. Next, check the kitten's eyes and ears. The eyes open in kittens at around 8 to 10 days of age. The ears open around the same time. Make sure the eyes and ears don't have any discharge and are not swollen or painful. If you see anything abnormal in either, be sure and have it addressed quickly by a veterinarian. Step 10 involves checking the kitten's rear end to make sure everything is present and accounted for. Male kittens will show 2 dots, an anus and a urethral opening. Female kittens will have an anal dot and a line that is a urethral opening. These are closer together in females than males. Next, you can try feeding the kitten to check his appetite. If she's a bottle baby, then consider diluting down the first few feedings with water or an oral electrolyte solution low in sugar. Dietary changes are upsetting to a kitten's delicate digestive system. Once you've fed the kitten, if he or she is under 4 weeks of age, they will need help from you to eliminate. Stimulate the kitten to check for urination and defecation. Kittens should urinate after every feeding and defecate about every day to day and a half. The urine should be dilute yellow. If it's more concentrated, the kitten may be dehydrated. Remember to write down all your findings in a record on each individual kitten. You can use this information to calculate nutritional needs and as a guide throughout the kitten's care with you. Check out the weight and feeding charts and references on the Maddie's Institute website for more information.
All right. That alone makes you want to take on a kitten, doesn't it? All right. So the next one's going to be some bottle feeding. So things with bottle feeding, you can use the latex nipples that come with those bottles. Anymore, we use something called a miracle nipple. The hole's already in that. And so we can attach those to syringes for the really young babies where we can get a really good idea how much they're eating at that time. As they get older, then we can put it into one of the bottles. So we will go over some of the bottle feeding with them.
One of the most heartwarming experiences when taking care of orphan kittens is bottle feeding them, especially if it goes without a hitch. Bottle feeding does require some planning ahead of time to set yourself and the kitten up for success. The first step in feeding an orphan kitten is getting an accurate weight before attempting to feed. This is important so you don't overfeed the kitten. Feeding kittens free choice may result in regurgitation, aspiration, and diarrhea if they consume beyond their stomach capacity. Underfeeding can result in poor weight gain, which is a risk factor for increased mortality. The next step involves calculating your kitten's stomach capacity to determine the daily caloric requirement. To compute this exactly, there is an excellent chart available on our website called Feeding and Stomach Capacity Table. Here's the web address to access this chart. Step 3 involves preparing the equipment. Select a nipple that is the correct length for your kitten's mouth and not greater than 5/8 inch in length. Anything longer may place the nipple too far back in the kitten's mouth, risking aspiration of the milk. There are several options to prepare the nipple. You can poke a hole in the nipple with a hot needle, or you can cut a snip in the tip of the nipple. My preference is to use the snip method. The goal is to allow a slow drip from the bottle with a slight squeeze. Avoid cutting too far down the nipple, as that may create a stream of milk coming out too quickly. You should also have a bottle and syringe for measuring out the milk. I don't recommend feeding with a syringe, as you may inadvertently syringe too much milk in for the kitten to swallow, which may also result in aspiration of the milk. Thoroughly clean the equipment in very hot soapy water or boiling water and allow them to dry completely. Next, follow the instructions on the formula to prepare the milk. Most powdered commercial milk replacers will have you dilute 1 part powder to 2 parts water. However, you may want to dilute the milk for the first few feedings using an oral electrolyte solution low in sugar like Pedialyte, or you can use water. This will ease the kitten's digestive adjustment to the formula. The milk should be warmed up to about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, approximately the mother cat's body temperature. Avoid warming the milk up in the microwave. Instead, warm the milk up by placing it in the warm water bath. You can warm the water bath in the microwave, then soak the milk in the water bath for a few minutes, or however long it takes to warm the milk up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. You can test this easily by dripping it on your wrist. Measure out the calculated volume by using the syringe or measurements on the side of the milk bottle. Try not to go beyond the calculated volume for stomach capacity, even if the kitten still appears hungry after feeding. An important part of this step is making sure the kitten is not chilled before feeding. Kittens that are chilled tend to be less responsive and not as interested in nursing. Follow these steps to position your kitten before feeding. The kitten should be in a sternal upright position, not cradled like a human infant. The neck should be slightly flexed and stretched out like he's reaching for his mother's nipple. Try not to allow the kitten to extend her neck back, as that will shorten the gullet and predispose the kitten to aspiration of the milk. Some kittens will prefer to stand up, which is fine so long as the kitten's neck isn't crimping. You can also wrap the kitten in a blanket like a burrito, allowing only his head to stick out. Now for the fun part, feeding your kitten. Check the temperature of the milk once again by dripping a few drops of milk onto your wrist. Sometimes the rubber will stick after cleaning, so make sure to unstick the rubber openings when preparing the bottle by dripping a few drops of milk out before feeding. If the milk feels too hot to your wrist, it may be too warm. Cool the milk by swirling it around the bottle and check again before attempting to feed. If the milk feels too cold, the kitten may refuse to nurse. Next, allow a drop of milk to drip onto the kitten's tongue. The kitten should latch on pretty quickly, but it may take a few attempts before she figures it out. Be careful not to squeeze the bottle and stream milk into the kitten's mouth, as the kitten may aspirate the milk. Continue to carefully drip milk onto the tongue without it streaming. Many kittens will get very vigorous with their front legs and accidentally knock the bottle out of their mouth. The key is to hold the kitten gently and move with the kitten as necessary. Don't hold the kitten too tightly. If after a few attempts the kitten does not latch on, don't force the feeding. Make sure the kitten is warm enough and the milk is warm enough, and try again. If the kitten is warm enough, try again in a half hour to an hour. Some kittens will skip a feeding once in a while, but if this becomes a pattern throughout the day, then you may have a sick kitten that needs veterinary attention. Make sure to burp and stimulate your kitten after each feeding until such time as it is able to urinate and defecate on its own. The last step in feeding your kitten involves cleanup. Be sure to thoroughly wash all the equipment between feedings with very hot soap and water and allow them to dry completely. Extra milk can be stored in the refrigerator for up to 24 hours. Try not to store it for more than 24 hours if possible. Formula is an excellent breeding ground for unwanted bacteria. You can check out the orphan kitten feeding and stomach capacity table and the orphan kitten feeding issues, consequences, and their prevention chart on the Maddie's Institute website for more information.
All right, so a lot of those kittens were pretty seasoned bottle feeders. So it can be really frustrating when you have a new kitten come in at first because they don't know what to do with the bottle and they'll keep pushing it away. It just takes a lot of patience. We just recently, we've had them about 2 weeks now, took in a litter of 4 kittens that came in. They were about 3.5 weeks old when they came in. They were really used to nursing on mom, so they were really shunning the bottle. One of them kind of took to it right away. It took the others almost 24 hours to really get it figured out and to start eating well. Now they just latch on and they suck it on down. The comment about the syringe she made, I agree. If you're just trying to use the syringe and push it into them, you really run the risk of aspiration pneumonia. When I talked about syringe feeding that we were doing, we used a special nipple on there where they're actually nursing off the syringe, just like they nurse off the bottle. Okay, so the next one, they kind of reference stimulating a kitten. So up till 4 weeks of age, these guys have what we call tactile, anal, and urinary reflexes. Mom would stimulate them as she grooms them to get them to urinate and defecate. Well, they don't have mom with them anymore, so we have to help them out. So they will go over that. Also, keeping track of what that poop looks like is really, really important. Normal kitten stool is kind of like a toothpaste consistency and usually kind of a tannish, light tan color, maybe yellowish looking a little bit as well. So any variant of that is not normal. Like mucus in there is not normal. Bloody and red, I think you would all figure out that's not normal. Black is not normal either. Orange, yellow, greenish. We see a lot of greenish when they're, again, when they have bacterial infection and overgrowth going on. Could be white if they actually have a lactose intolerance. So keeping track of the color, the consistency of the stool is really important. So let's watch this stimulation.
Orphan kittens under the age of 3 to 4 weeks will need your assistance to urinate and defecate, as they are reflex eliminators. This video will go through the steps to help your kitten eliminate properly. Orphan neonatal kittens will need stimulating after every feeding, so be sure and have your equipment handy before you begin feeding. The equipment you need includes clean cotton squares or paper towels, warm water, and a container or cloth for the kitten to eliminate over. When you finish feeding and burping your kitten, position the kitten in one hand with his belly cupped in the palm of your hand and not on his back. Dip the cotton square into the warm water and then very gently stimulate your kitten's anus and urethra area in a circular or side-to-side motion with your other hand. You can position the kitten over a garbage can or over several layers of paper towel to catch the urine. As the kitten gets older, you can position him over the litter box. Continue stimulating for about 10 seconds after no more urine is coming out to give the kitten an opportunity to defecate as well, and to make sure the kitten's bladder is empty. Kittens need continuous stimulation to eliminate their bladder completely. The urine should be dilute yellow. If the kitten is ready to defecate, he will display some abdominal effort. Be patient and gentle while you wait for him to finish. Kittens typically defecate every 24 to 36 hours, and the stool should be brownish yellow, slightly firm, to toothpaste in consistency. If the kitten has loose stool or diarrhea, she may strain after she has finished defecating. Be sure and address loose stool and diarrhea with your veterinarian to avoid rectal prolapse from too much straining, and to address any infectious causes. If the stools are too firm and the kitten seems constipated, the kitten may be dehydrated, and this too should be addressed by your veterinarian. Gently dab the kitten's area dry after he is finished eliminating to help keep the kitten clean. You can use a warm, damp cotton square or paper towel to clean up after defecation.
All right, so with the elimination, again, that's really, really important. There's as, an organization called the Kitten Coalition, and they have a lot of good information. In fact, this is what this chart came from. Um, one of my nurses and myself went to an all-day seminar that they gave, and one thing they used was just toilet paper for stimulation. So you don't get the toilet paper wet. They just use it for the stimulation. Actually, anymore, that's my preferred method. You do want to have like several squares torn out and have it ready to go, because as these kittens get a little bit older, they can start making a lot of urine. So if you're not ready with your toilet paper already torn off, you might be scrambling as they're peeing up quite a bit. So you have to stimulate them up to about 4 weeks of age. So how do you know when you can stop stimulating them? One, they'll really start fighting you even more. You'll probably start finding wet spots, damp spots in their bedding where they're starting to urinate. You might see feces in there as well. So right about 4 weeks of age, we can put a very low-sided litter box in there. One thing we don't want to use is clumping litter. At that age, they're really inquisitive and they're investigating that litter. They'll have it in their mouth. And there are cases of cats becoming impacted, having intestinal impactions from ingesting too much clumping litter. So usually what we're going to send you home with is just some plain clay, non-clumping litter. And it's just like they're almost drawn to it like a moth to a light. They'll start using it. In fact, our little ones, we started giving them their litter box on Monday, and they have really taken to it well. The other time, another way to kind of figure out, well, are they about 4 weeks of age? If you've ever seen little kittens crawl around, their tail is straight out behind them when they're really young. But right about 4 weeks of age, almost like clockwork, it will start going straight up and they'll start walking around within an upright position. So that's another time you can tell it's probably close to where you won't need to stimulate them and that you'll need to offer them a litter box. Most of the time, I'm going to stimulate after they eat because that's when they're going to feel more likely they have to poop, just like we do. You eat, maybe you feel like going to the bathroom more after that. If they're not wanting to latch onto the bottle, though, you might want to stimulate them ahead of time just in case they have a full bladder or something like that. Okay, these guys can get really messy, really messy. In fact, the kittens right now, we're in the process of transitioning them onto some solid food. Is an awful time because they have it all over their face, all over their feet. They're too young to groom themselves very well. Mom's not there to keep them cleaned up. And if you don't keep it cleaned off of them, that's a good medium for bacteria to grow. And so we start getting bacterial folliculitis, so skin infections. They'll start even sometimes sloughing some fur from that just because it's a bacterial infection. It's not ringworm or anything. So you got to keep these guys clean. So preferably a tearless baby shampoo. You try to avoid the face as much as you can. If you just need the spot treat, we do send baby wipes home. We use hypoallergenic baby wipes. That's important to have those. It's easy for these guys to get chilled, so you need to make sure you're keeping them really warm. So here's a little video on how to bathe these guys.
As you enter into the world of orphan kitten care, you will soon realize that it is necessary to bathe your cat. Orphan kittens are messy, and without their mother, they can become covered with stool or food pretty quickly. There are several options when it comes to bathing kittens. Spot baths are preferred over full baths as it is less of a chill risk to the kitten and less complicated. However, there are certainly times when a full bath is warranted. Spot dry baths are useful when a kitten has a localized area that needs cleaning and simply involves wiping the area gently with a slightly dampened cotton square or paper towel. Spot dry baths do not involve soaking the area down to the skin, but still require drying the dampened fur with a clean towel to prevent chilling. Spot wet baths and full baths are more involved and require some setup beforehand. Spot wet baths involve cleaning a select area of the kitten, for example the rear end, with warm water rinse and shampooing as needed. Spot wet baths are quicker than full baths, but still require care to dry the kitten with warm towels or a hair dryer so the kitten doesn't get chilled. For a full bath, you will need very mild tearless shampoo for kittens, a washcloth or paper towels, a wash sink or wash basin filled or running with warm water at a temperature of about 95 degrees Fahrenheit, several clean cotton towels pre-warmed in the dryer if possible, and a hair dryer. Step 1 involves pre-warming the kitten's environment so it has a warm and cozy place to be after the bath is finished. You can do this with a room heater or heating pad. Set the heat source on low to warm the area to around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Then make sure to set everything out around the bathing area before you get started. You may want to pour some shampoo into a container for easy access ahead of time. Next, gently and securely hold your kitten in one hand while soaking the kitten with warm water and massaging shampoo into the kitten's fur with your other hand. You can use your hand or a washcloth to help remove debris from soiled fur, being extra gentle not to abrade the kitten's skin. Never include the kitten's face in a full bath, and never use shampoo on the kitten's face. If the kitten's face is soiled, you can use the spot dry bath method for cleaning. Step 3 includes rinsing the kitten thoroughly to remove all the shampoo, and then quickly wrapping the kitten in one of the pre-warmed towels. Step 4, dry the kitten with a warm hair dryer set on low, carefully moving the air actively around the fur to avoid burning the kitten's skin. Most kittens tolerate this well and appreciate the warmth of the hair dryer. Make sure the kitten feels completely dry down to the skin before finishing.
All right. So that kitten made it look really easy. I totally agree. You have to have everything ready to go because once they start getting wet, some of the older kittens are pretty mobile. So they might start trying to crawl off the counter. You need to have everything right there ready to go. So if you do any raising at all, you're going to be kind of bathing these guys a little bit. So they can be dirty little things. About 6 weeks of age, they get better at grooming themselves, and it just keeps better and better after that. And then let's see, the last one is going into weaning. So again, right around 4 weeks of age, you can start offering a gruel. And so a lot of times we'll mix some of the formula in with either baby food. We just went straight to kitten food, a kitten food gruel with this group that we have right now. And they were eating it so well, we actually put some little dry kitten kibble in there as well. And according to the person who's fostering right now, they've actually taken right to that. So hopefully we'll be able to wean them fairly quickly. But it's really important, and I can't stress this enough during the weaning process, because I've had this happen with a couple of the fosters where we had some of these kittens become hypoglycemic because they're like, well, we saw them at the bowl, they're eating, you still have to supplement with formula. Gradually, about 6 weeks of age, we'll start weaning them off the bottle. But between that 4 weeks, 6 weeks of age, even up to 7 weeks, they still may need a bottle to supplement a little bit. So very, very important, even if you see them eating food, to give them that supplement. So let's go into weaning.
Weaning orphan kittens off formula and onto solid food is an exciting time, especially since this means you may be able to get more sleep at night. Kittens can start the weaning process around 3 to 4 weeks of age as their teeth start to come in. They especially enjoy the opportunity to gnaw on something to ease the discomfort of teething. As exciting as it may sound, adjusting to solid food can be a stressor to the kitten's digestive system, so try not to rush this process. Crushed dry kitten food and Royal Canin baby cat are good options for dry food. Place a small amount of dry food in the kitten's environment and let the kitten experiment with eating it. You will find they don't consume a lot of the food, but they will pick and gnaw on it, which will help them get started. I have used small ceramic hamster bowls to put the food in, as it is less likely to be tipped over and the size is perfect for tiny kitten faces. I've also offered dry food that has been soaked in warm water as an option. When feeding canned food, try and select higher quality canned food without a lot of gravy, chunks, and fillers. You can dilute the food down with a small amount of formula or water to make it into a thick gruel. I like to water the food down at a ratio of 1 to 3 water to canned food, so it isn't too watery. If the mixture is too watery, the kitten may inhale the food into his nostrils, which may be startling and painful for the kitten. Pick a small ceramic hamster bowl for this to prevent excessive spillage and mess. Large bowls will enable the kitten to put her feet into the bowl and knead the food while she's eating, making a huge mess and perhaps chilling the kitten. If you have more than one kitten, you may want to have multiple bowls on hand for feeding. You can try syringe feeding a small amount of food to get her started. Continuing formula during this transition time is important to ensure the kitten is getting the proper calories for growth. If the kitten's digestive system is not handling the cow-based formula well, you may want to speed the weaning process up. Adding a probiotic may help the kitten's digestive system adjust. Otherwise, as long as the kitten is doing well on the formula, take your time. Slowly transition the kitten from formula to solid food over several weeks. When the kitten is eating solid food reliably well and tolerating the food, you can start to reduce the number of bottle feedings and skip those nighttime feedings.
All right, so if you do decide foster, and those of you here tonight saw these, this is something we want all of our fosters to watch, so it gives an idea. Obviously, nothing beats hands-on experience and helping with those, but these will help a lot. Again, if you decide to help foster, you can take pictures, you can take all you want for yourself, and we'll use some too. And then, but no posting on social media. And then if you foster, we'll get you additional information, how to warm up the disc and different things like that. So I have spoken with our kitten coordinators, and what I can do is email you. Let me stop sharing this real quick. Caitlin, I can email you their information. So if you have people that might be interested, they can get in touch with our kitten fosters and try to get things coordinated. Main thing will be, they will be the ones that will have to come in and get the kittens, get things ready, and then transfer them over to fosters. One thing I will say, if I have veterinary students who want to foster, they will usually get some top priority because they're there. But especially in the summer and holidays, if you guys are in town, we tend to be really short-handed for fosters. So this is something you think you'd like to do. It is fun. Yes, you might be tired a little bit on sometimes. It's a really gratifying thing to do. Okay, any questions at all?
Dr. Nelson, can you repeat that last part? Your audio got very quiet there.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, like I said, I'll send you information for our kitten coordinators. And then if anyone's interested in fostering, we can get you in contact with them. Likely what it will be is they will get everything ready for the kittens and then have to meet you outside the hospital transfer to get supplies to you. I will give preference to the veterinary students that want to foster, but like I said earlier, during holidays, during summer, and summer is peak kitten time, a lot of my students go home, and so we're really short-handed with fosters. So any questions that anyone might have?
I just want to add that this is a really good experience. And I think, getting to work with Dr. Nelson is a valuable experience. She's amazing. She has a lot of knowledge. And so I think in that regard, this is something that you could really, you can put it on your application, the experience you get, because this is something that even veterinary students, we teach them about it, but unless they're volunteering to do this, they will not leave vet school with this experience necessarily, because it's something that they may not learn to do. And so you guys are going to be if you go into vet school, you're going to be um, teaching owners how to do this. And so having done it yourself is really, really helpful.
Yeah, and I was going to say, one of our former seniors who graduated last spring, probably within about a month of her graduation, she emailed me back because she happened to be on a rotation where we had a whole bunch of kittens that we were fostering that time. And she said she became the kitten lady of the practice, the kitten doctor, because she was one of the only ones that had experience. And you would be amazed how many kittens will be dumped on your doorstep in practice. They come in droves. Raising an orphan puppy, pretty close. If you can do a kitten, you can do a puppy. You don't get as many orphan puppies unless mom happens to die from a C-section or giving birth, but people bring in orphan kittens by the droves. Well, I appreciate all you guys hanging in there, and hopefully we'll see some of you volunteer. It is a good experience. And they're fun. They're good study buddies.
Thanks, Dr. Nelson.
Yep, thank you, Dr. Nelson.
Yep. And Caitlin, I'll get you the contact information for our kitten coordinators, okay?
Yes, thank you. I'll send that out. I'll send that to the group so
All right.
that we can get some volunteers.
Great. Thank you. Well, I'll check
Yep.
out so you guys can finish with your meeting. Thanks.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
She's a wonderful woman.
Yes, even from the short couple of emails that I've exchanged with her and Dr. Pullman, she seems very, very nice. So we'll, if you guys are interested in that, that is a great hands-on opportunity, like they said, to put on your application and just even to get some animal hours on your belt. But for now, we'll go ahead and go into officer reports. If Maddie wants to put those up real quick.
All right. So next year, K-State is going to be hosting the pre-vet symposium. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's like a weekend where K-State will put on a bunch of lectures and labs about just like topics within veterinary medicine. So if you have any ideas of things that you'd want to hear about or any labs that you'd be interested in doing, just send me an email or just message me on GroupMe and I can add those to the list that is going to get sent to the vet school.
So if you have independent volunteer experiences, you can just message them to me or Jordan and we can put them in as a point for you. Also, there's a Hope Ranch volunteer opportunity on Sunday, May 2nd from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., just like last time. This is another really good opportunity to get a point and then to go out to Hope Ranch to see if you would possibly want to volunteer there. It was super fun last time. We literally did work for about an hour and then people got to ride horses for an hour and a half. So it's a really good opportunity. Just send me a message if you're interested and I'll put you on a list.
And then the last thing that I wanted to mention, like that I mentioned at the last meeting, don't forget, you guys, we're going to be doing officer elections soon. I know a couple of people have sent in their autobiographies about themselves and their what positions they want to run in. But I just want to remind everyone that actually are due tomorrow. And our last officer meeting will probably be next week for you to attend. And like I said, you have to submit that autobiography and attend at least one of the officer meetings. So we had one last week and we'll have one this coming Thursday. So if you are interested in running, please send your autobiographies to me. It can literally just be, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm from, I'll just mind. Hi, my name is Caitlin. I'm from Wichita. I'm getting my degree in biology. I want to do medicine or whatever. And then say, I want to be president or I want to be the treasurer. These are the reasons that I want to be treasurer and why I think I'll be good at it. You can also apply for multiple positions if you guys are interested in them. And you would just get to pick whichever one you want to do if you were to be elected to both of them. But yeah, so don't forget the autobiographies are due tomorrow. And you have to come to if you haven't done so already, come to the officers meeting next week. And I will put my email again in the chat here so that you guys can send them to me, or if it's easier for you, you can also send them to me on the GroupMe. Okay, there it is. Any other questions, comments, concerns about club things or Riley County Humane Society or the Orphan Kitten program that Dr. Pullman can answer? No? Okay. I think that's it. I believe today, except for when we do officer elections, this will be our final meeting of the year. So it's been great. I loved
more.
being here. Yes.
We have a meeting on April 29th.
Ah, yes, I completely
with
forgot.
Dr. Haynes. Okay.
Then never mind. I was looking at the wrong day. Then I'll see you guys then. But I will see you guys later. Have a good night. Get some rest before the end of the year comes.
Thank you, Caitlin. Bye.
Bye, Dr. Pullman.